On April 6, 2026, 4 human beings flew over the far side of the Moon for the first time in more than 50 years. And what they saw did not look like the quiet, fully understood world we have been told to imagine. It looked stranger, sharper, more active, more unresolved. For decades, the far side of the Moon lived in science as a place mapped by instruments, modeled by computers, and explained through data. But the moment Artemis II passed over it with trained human eyes looking through Orion's windows, the Moon stopped being just a set of measurements and became something else entirely. A place where old mysteries suddenly felt more real and new ones appeared in real time. What the crew brought back was not one shocking object. It was 4 different puzzles, each one pointing to the same uncomfortable truth. The hidden side of the Moon may still be far less understood than we wanted to believe. The first mystery begins with one of the most beautiful and disturbing structures on the Moon, the Oriental Basin. Imagine 3 nearly perfect concentric rings carved into the lunar surface, like an enormous target pressed into rock billions of years ago. From Earth, we can only glimpse part of it because it sits near the boundary between the near side and the far side. Robotic missions photographed pieces of it. Scientists modeled it. But until Artemis II, no human being had ever seen the full structure with their own eyes in real time. And when the crew finally saw it directly, the reaction was immediate. It looked too clean, too circular, too mathematically elegant for something born from chaos. The leading theory says a colossal ancient impact liquefied the crust and sent waves of molten material outward, which later froze into those giant concentric mountain rings. That explanation sounds reasonable. The problem is that no laboratory experiment and no computer model has fully recreated the precise perfection of what Oriental actually looks like. The geometry is too exact. The symmetry is too strong. The scale is too immense to feel accidental. Yet the physics we currently use to explain it still leave gaps. That is why Oriental remains such a powerful mystery. It is not hidden because we cannot see it. It is hidden because even after finally seeing it properly, we still cannot say with complete confidence how something that precise formed. Artemis II did not solve the puzzle. It made it sharper. The second mystery came from another giant basin on the far side, Sprung. At first glance, it seems like another massive lunar impact scar, but the deeper you look, the stranger it becomes. Sprung contains 2 concentric rings of its own. But unlike Oriental, this structure has been interrupted and deformed by a later impact, the Vavilov crater, creating a landscape where 2 different eras of lunar history are literally superimposed on top of one another. It is like reading 2 chapters of the solar system's past written across the same page. This matters because Sprung and Oriental together offer something incredibly rare. A direct side-by-side comparison of large impact basins in different states of preservation. One looks cleaner and more intact. The other looks older, battered, and partially overridden by later violence. For planetary scientists, that is a goldmine. It means Artemis II was not just looking at scenery. It was witnessing geological time made visible. And that makes Sprung mysterious in a different way. It is not mysterious because it is inexplicable. It is mysterious because it contains layers of history we are only now learning how to read correctly. What the crew saw there is already forcing scientists to compare decades of theoretical models with fresh human observation. And whenever that happens, one uncomfortable possibility always appears. What if the models are only partly right? What if some of the story we told ourselves about how these giant basins evolve over billions of years needs to be revised? Then came the moment that changed the mood of the entire flyby. During the eclipse phase, with the Moon's surface darkened from the crew's perspective, the astronauts saw 6 brief bright flashes on the far side. Fast, sharp, unmistakable. These were not reflections, not camera glitches, and not imagination. They were real impact flashes, meteoroids striking the lunar surface in real time and releasing enough energy to become visible to human observers in orbit. Scientists knew such flashes were possible. What shocked them was the frequency. 6 impacts in less than an hour across the visible part of the far side suggests the Moon is being hit more often than many current models would comfortably predict. And that is not just an interesting scientific detail. It has immediate consequences for the future. If the Moon is being bombarded this frequently, then every future astronaut, every habitat, every vehicle, and every base design has to account for that reality. The far side is not just old and scarred by ancient violence. It is still being struck now. The fourth mystery may be the most unsettling. The crew observed smaller, fresher craters that seemed to shine with an intensity far beyond what they expected. One astronaut compared them to tiny pinholes in a lampshade, bright against the darker surrounding terrain. The current scientific explanation is that recently exposed lunar material has not yet been darkened by space weathering, making it more reflective. But even with that explanation, the intensity of the brightness caught the crew off guard. It looked stronger, sharper, and more visually dramatic than the data alone had suggested. And then there was the eclipse itself. During nearly 54 minutes of totality, with the Moon blocking the Sun, the crew saw a luminous halo around the lunar edge. Thin glowing structures, almost like delicate strands of light extending around the black disk. Scientists are still debating what exactly produced that effect. Was it the solar corona alone? Was it zodiacal light caused by sunlight scattering off interplanetary dust? Or was it some combination of both? Right now, there is no final answer. Put those two observations together, and the message becomes clear. Artemis II did not just revisit the Moon. It exposed the fact that human observation under the right conditions can still uncover things that challenge our existing explanations. And maybe the final mystery is the most important of all. It is not a crater, a flash, or a halo. It is the realization that trained human observation changed the mission itself. For decades, we studied the Moon through orbiters, sensors, spectral maps, and computer models. But Artemis II reminded us of something fundamental. An instrument records information. A trained human notices when something does not feel right. The crew was not just collecting images. They were recognizing patterns, comparing subtle differences, and interpreting the landscape in real time. And once those observations started coming in, the Moon stopped being just a remote object. It became a place again. Something to be seen, understood, and questioned. In the end, the far side of the Moon did not give Artemis II just one mystery. It gave 4, and maybe a 5th hidden behind them all. Perfect rings that challenge physics. Ancient basins layered with history. Real-time impacts. Strange brightness. An unexplained halo. And above all, the realization that the Moon is not a finished story. It is an unfinished one. And that means something powerful. The closest world to Earth, the one we thought we understood, still has the ability to surprise us. And if the Moon can still surprise us, then imagine what else is waiting out there.